Hi, hey, hello.
What's going on?
How's everybody doing out there?
We're doing a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Just going to do this podcast thing.
If you're to download us wherever podcasts are available.
Please subscribe. Also share. We would love to. And if you'd like to be a Patreon, here's the link below. We don't have one of
We'll
those.
give you our meal prep ideas a little bit later.
We got a coupon code for HelloFresh. It doesn't work. Try it next time. It is the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. Appreciate you listening wherever you're listening from. We start today with something that would freak me the hell out, and I think it would freak you out as well. It's a story out of Ecuador, okay? This 76-year-old woman is declared dead at a hospital in Ecuador.
And let me just stop you. We've had stories like this before, but I don't know that it's ever gotten to this point.
Correct. I don't know if it's been taken to this extreme.
Right.
So she goes to the hospital, pronounced dead. Family's like, oh, poor grandma or whatever.
Dead.
So, yeah, exactly. So they go through the process, everything else. All of a sudden, during her wake, there's a, hey, let me out of here, coming from the coffin.
Yeah.
The coffin is knocking. And so relatives left the coffin behind and rushed the retired Bella Montoya back to the hospital after the wake. It gave us all a fright,
Yes.
one of the daughters said. Adding, the doctors have said his mother's situation remains dire.
Yeah.
But she revived herself in the... Can you just imagine for a moment? Go ahead.
We're talking like 9 hours had passed.
Yes.
From what I understand. This was
Yeah.
like 9 hours into the wake. And I don't know what the time was between hospital and the beginning of the wake and how that all transpired. But a considerable amount of time. And
Well, enough time, yeah. I mean, I don't know how, to your point, how quickly, but enough time to where pronounced dead, contact the funeral home, get a casket picked out, get her in the right outfit. Through all of that, never wakes up. But all of a sudden, and how freaky on both sides, right?
Right.
Can you imagine for a moment waking up and being in a coffin?
No. I think I would just say, okay, then this is just it. This is too much for me.
Would you even knock? You just be like,
No.
okay, you know what? I'm 76.
Obviously,
I had a good run.
Obviously, I've outlived my welcome here. It's time to go. And how long do you hear knocking before you even believe that it could be coming from the coffin? You're looking for a mouse. You're trying to, you're opening and closing the door. That damn kids.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're going, it's like, could you check the heating of the HVAC system?
Is
there a
the radiator
rattle
clanging or
exactly.
something? I mean, you would check every single thing in
Yes.
that building before you go, it's not the coffin, is it?
It can't be that. And
And even then you'd go,
that's and how long?
it must be settling.
And not only how long between all of that, and then how long until you finally go, okay, I need to open this and check.
Right.
Correct? I mean,
That's a good point. Who's got that job?
Right, because it's like through all of that, you're right. You're like, well, it's not this. It's not. It's still happening. It's still happening. How long until we don't know if she screamed? Is she just
Yeah. Hello.
hello? And then part
Someone's
of
in here.
Part of that is, are we hearing voices?
Right.
Are we? So is this grief hitting us to where we? Because I read this story earlier this week where the guy in New Mexico. Did you read about him that thinks his wife has come back as a peacock outside the house? So there's that aspect of it, and then you get to the point of, well, it's not everything else. Who's drawing the short straw and opening the coffin?
And if you're grandma, how pissed are you at everybody?
Oh, big time.
Everybody.
Oh, everybody can go to hell. Everyone's out of the will.
From the doctor to
Yes.
your son to the grandkids. I mean, you are mad at everybody for what? You didn't even think to poke me?
You would think through all of that, though.
Shake me a little bit. Something.
You would think the movement, though, of like from the hospital bed and then change. I assume they would have changed her into an outfit, right?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know for certain.
Clearly, they didn't. I mean, whatever the traditions are down there, maybe
Yeah.
not because
That's true.
They didn't embalm her.
No, that's true. Yeah, they just shipped her right into the coffin to where
Yeah.
she could. God, I guess it's better now that you say that. It's better. It's better to wake up in that situation than when you're on the embalming table and they
Right.
start injecting you with things.
Start poking you.
So, yeah, I would just be freaked the hell. Don't you just go, nope, I'm out. I'm the minute that coffin starts knocking, I'm gone before they start opening it. I've seen enough zombie movies to know this probably doesn't end well.
So they say she's still in
dire condition, and she's still in the hospital, obviously.
But she had the wherewithal to go, I'm in something.
Right.
You don't even know where you're in. I mean,
Correct.
it is dark as dark can be.
Yeah, and you're just inside, and she had the wherewithal to at least knock and be like, hey, let me out of here.
Okay, and here's the thing here's really, now, if you want to have some nightmares, I'm guessing it sounds, Ecuador, there's no formal, funeral home, embalming, the usual things that we're thinking of.
Right.
Which means the casket was not one of these double-lined with the nice silk pillows and everything, because you would never hear it. How many times have we put people in a coffin?
God!
And they're essentially just like knocking on a pillow.
Yeah.
And nobody could hear it.
Right.
I mean, at least she was like in a pine box where I guess you could hear through to the other side.
Well, at least she did it in the wake. Who knows where she was going after that?
Right.
Would they have just kind of, Grandma wanted to be cremated.
Well, yeah.
At least she woke up before we get to that point.
Yeah.
But you're right with how nice the insides are of coffins that we know with all the metal and everything else. Would any of
You would never hear it. You would never hear it.
It was
Impossible.
like a living haunted mansion ride from. They have that bit in Disney World. It was like, let me out of here, and it was happening right in front of you.
I don't know why we make the inside of caskets so
padded,
so puffy and nice.
Yeah, I guess because in our purview, I guess it's the eternal rest, right? It's just like you're going. It's just like sleep, they say. But I don't know. I guess maybe Ecuador's onto something. Just
if I'm the priest, though, I'm walking in and I'm doing that thing where I blow on my fingernails, and go, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, there we go. I'm the priest.
Someone call the Vatican. I'm a miracle worker.
Yeah, you're gonna come Sunday now, aren't you? Huh?
Yeah,
Come on.
Hey, Jesus had Lazarus. I had your grandma.
Where's the plate? Pass
come on,
the plate.
pass it around. Pass it around. You never know.
A little from you.
But you would go to the priest.
No, none from you. You don't want to come back?
All right,
fine.
that's fine. But then you go to the priest, be like, but yeah, you waited till now. Why couldn't you have done that? Hey, the Lord works in mysterious ways, all right?
I had to make my point. You wouldn't have believed it was in the hospital. You would give credit to the doctor.
Right, exactly. I don't want any of that, Jim. I don't want that jamoke getting credit. Come on now. Moving on to someone who faked their own death. Here is this guy seems like an incredible douche. This guy from Belgium. He's apparently a TikTok and YouTube sensation.
Oh, bad news already.
Yeah, so he got his wife and kids to go in on this amazing ruse to where he faked his own death. So his daughters tricked his social media followers by posting, "Rest in peace, Daddy. I will never stop thinking about you." They go through all the charade, and the funeral took place over this past weekend, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy makes a grand entrance with a film crew via helicopter. A little over the top, all right? Now, the full video hasn't been posted to social media yet, but a TikTok video did show several friends and family embracing him. He's received a lot of backlash from even some of his followers for this, but he says, here's what he was trying to do with all of this.
And this is what I've been waiting for.
He was trying to teach his family a lesson about reaching out before it's too late. Don't you feel like there's a good reason not to reach out to this guy because he seems like an a-hole?
Here's what you do is you trade places with him with the Ecuadorian grandmother.
That's what you do.
It's like I'd rather have her hanging around than this asshole.
Right. I agree. He's a total dickbag, right? There's a reason no one is reaching out to you, sir.
Yeah.
Is because you seem like if you're going to go to this extreme to prove your quote-unquote point, I don't want anything to do with you. Because only half his family showed up in the first place to this particular funeral.
And that should be a message.
Right. But then he said, since then other relatives have reached out.
No.
What did it?
Reached out and said what?
And said, F
Idiot.
off. Yeah, F you going through all of this. Because if you're the people that were actually there enough to care and he flies in, I wouldn't give him a hug.
No.
I'd punch him right in the nut bag.
The hole's already dug. Just push him in.
Exactly. I would beat the crap out of him and be like, hey, we're here for a funeral. You need to go in there, you jerk.
Yeah, follow through on your bit.
Yes, exactly. You son of a bitch.
Yeah, see how many clicks you get on this one.
Yeah. Speaking of dead, apparently the lunches we eat are just so plain and boring, it's like death on a plate.
China has discovered how we in America, and specifically we white folk, eat lunch, and they're referring to it as the lunch of the suffering.
Here's the thing. Continue on, but I don't know if they're wrong.
It's part of a trend among Chinese social media users who are reacting to what they're referring to as white people food. Western packed lunches made up of plain ingredients such as raw vegetables and sliced meats.
We do love our sliced meats as our lunch.
Their social media platforms over there are filled with photos and reviews of cold sandwiches, raw carrots, and canned tuna. In response to hundreds of commenters, they've said, one woman from Australia said, when I first came to Australia, I saw a woman who bought raw sliced mushrooms in the supermarket and just sat down and ate them. I was dumbfounded. Another person on social media breaks down white people food into three parts. It does not prioritize enjoyment. It has no spices.
Yeah, usually pretty bland.
Yeah, it involves as little preparation as possible. So it's just 2 slices of bread and something in the middle.
Yeah.
Eat it raw, eat it as a whole piece. And third, it's eaten at work or school. The idea is when you get off work, you go back to eat your normal food and you feel your life come back.
They're not wrong, right?
And and they point out, in China, a very elaborate meals
yes.
with lots of different ingredients.
They have their bento boxes and everything else, right?
They refer to this as the lunch of the suffering. And this one online user bought a pack of string beans and tomato to see what it was like to eat them raw. He said, "It's so lawless and outrageous."
What do they call it? The suffering? What is it?
Yes, the lunch of the suffering.
I want someone, if you're listening and want to be a sponsor of this particular program, go ahead and offer the lunch of the suffering special, where it's just lunch meat and some cheese and some raw veggies. And I can't say they're wrong.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
No, because...
What did you pack in your lunch today? Did you pack your lunch?
I eat here. I bring... And exactly what they described is my lunch pretty much every day.
Yeah.
I go back to the refrigerator. I have pre-processed lunch meat that I put on 2 pieces of wheat bread, and I have an apple. And then I go back
to nothing on that bread. There's no mustard. There's no lettuce.
It's just the meat
and bread.
I don't even have cheese in there. It's just meat, bread, and an apple. And then I go back to the suffering of my office to eat my lunch of the suffering. And you're right. And then I go home and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to have something delicious for actual food for dinner.
One person in China was so shocked at somebody eating baby carrots on top of some spinach and said, can they generate their own energy without eating? The person said it's a handful of oatmeal mixed with low-fat yogurt, half an apple. Everything's pale.
That's a lot of brown.
If such a meal is to extend life, what's the meaning of life? He's right. They're right. There's nothing I can argue with.
I hope no one's listening to this while they're eating their lunch and look down and go, what is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
Maybe spice it up a little bit. You know what I did a couple days ago? We got a new sponsor. I went over to that new Hibachi Madness over there on...
Hibachi Madness! Was it madness? Was it crazy?
Well, I got the sushi burrito.
Oh, no, did you? And I've heard of these.
Yeah. A lot of food. Yeah. When I picked up the bag, so I placed the order online, I picked up the bag, and I go, a lot of that's going to land in my stomach. But pretty good. I got the little honey wasabi with it. Delicious. So
get some for your wife, too?
It was lunch. It was lunch. So my lunch of the suffering was thrown off for a day. I actually enjoyed a lunch for once and left and went outside to grab it.
And it's like a lifelong thing. I mean, lunch at school was nothing.
It's usually slop, right? I never paid for my lunch. I had it packed.
I just got a lot of respect for these countries that
they take the time.
Food is important to them. It's you've got to nourish yourself, and it's not just eat some bread with some. Carrot.
Or run to a fast food place and just have a burger and chomp it down while you're way back to the office because, Lord, we can't be late for a half-hour lunch break.
Criticism accurate and accepted.
Yes. Speaking as we continue the podcast of the dead today here on Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. Flies, apparently. I always thought, right, when I smacked a fly in my house, I would leave it there from time to time and be like, that's going to show these other flies who they're messing with. And I would joke around and my wife would then say, would you get that out of here, throw it in the garbage? But apparently I should leave it there.
Research has shown that when certain flies are exposed to the carcasses of their dead friends, their lifespan shrinks in a significant and measurable way.
And not that the lifespan of a fly is that long anyway.
Right.
But then if they see a dead friend...
They start acting withdrawn. They lose body fat. No idea how much body fat a fly has.
Right.
And their aging accelerates to the point that they die sooner than flies that haven't found their friends dead laying all over the place.
Oh, no, Larry.
Yeah.
What happened to Larry? He was just enjoying some manure 5 minutes ago.
You know, it kind of makes sense. I mean, really, if you're walking down the street and, there's just a dead person, every couple of feet, you'd go, I don't even know what the point is here.
When you put it that way. Like, in my mind, this is how morbid I am. I see the giant hand of God with fly swatter just smacking someone on the sidewalk and then going, yeah, maybe there isn't the...
That would just bum you out, wouldn't it?
It would.
And what was crazy about this story, too, was that they were able to, whatever enzymes or neurons or whatever it was that they detected that were causing the flies to get all bummed out and die, they were able to extract them from one fly, put them in another fly who hadn't seen any other dead flies, and that fly got all bummed out and died.
What kind of weird scientists are we working with? Is this Jeff Goldblum from back in the day?
Sensory processes can influence aging, but we're not really sure how this happens. They've exhaustively demonstrated that perceiving dead flies of the same species does have a demonstrable effect on other flies, showing that they waste away and die early for the reasons that were yet unknown. They go back to their wife and go, I don't even know what the point is.
Their fly wife be like, you wouldn't believe what happened today. I saw Charlie, he was gone, and the next thing you know, Josh was dead. Yeah. And so what's the point? I know what, I'm not going back to work today. I know I'm supposed to go and, fly around some picnic, but why would I even do that? And
we've seen things like elephants and orangutans and stuff being aware that
of grief.
Of grief and that someone died. And apparently that happens with flies too. So you can get, what I'm going to start doing is getting toothpicks and just like put them on a pike. And just right at my window.
Like you're some type of bounty hunter or whatever. Be like, watch out, this could be you.
You know what? You want to come in? They said there isn't a lot we can do with this information as of yet. They've just known that it's happened, but they have no idea what to do with the information.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a problem with flies around your garbage and everything else, just line it with a bunch of dead ones, and they will then die out.
Did you ever have fly paper in your house, like those dangly things in the garage?
No, I never went that far, but because that just seems cool.
It's bananas, yeah.
As much as I'm like, oh, I will smack. And by the way, what is it about when the fly gets in the house that we all freak out and we have to grab the fly swatter and then you have to track it? Did you ever have that one fly where you kept tracking and tracking? You're like, oh, I missed it. Oh, I missed it. I don't feel that's cruel, smacking it to death, but I'm like, oh, fly paper seems just inordinately cruel.
Yeah, because they're there. They're banging up against the window, making that dumb zizz noise, and they think your TV is a window. I mean, they do. Everything they do involves if you're eating something, they're going to come closer.
Exactly.
And if you just ate a piece of fruit or something, they're going to climb all over you. And so it's all hands on deck when there's a fly in the house. You got to kill that thing.
You really do. Were you in charge of that as a kid growing up?
I wasn't. I don't know that anyone was in charge. I didn't.
Oh, it was just the closest to the swatter was the one to try to, because inevitably, like some people don't have as great an aim with the fly swatter.
I'm really bad at it.
Isn't that the most embarrassing thing when other people are around? Like when there's a group of folks around and you're it's like watching a cheetah try to attack an antelope at times. Like you get in this crouch and you're like, oh, I got to sneak up on it. Oh, I don't want to scare it. And then you rear back. You're like, I got to follow through real quick. And when you miss, it's mortifying.
Is it possible to have a fly come near you and not do that thing where you just swing your hand at it? No one has ever hit a fly successfully.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah, I've knocked down a couple in my day. But you're right. We always just like,
like you're gonna hit it.
Yeah.
And you miss. They're just incredibly.
Have you ever caught one with your hand?
No.
I've caught one once.
And then what?
And then I kind of ran outside and let it go.
Could you feel it moving?
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. It was a shot in the dark, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of running around. I just go whoomp, and I'm like, wait a second. And it was like, and I'm like, what? You're right. I was like, what to do? I can't like clap because then it would fly away. So I just ran outside and let it go. It's the one that I finally let go.
You're much more athletically inclined than I am.
Well, speaking of athletics, Yeah, we have a story
yeah.
involving ping pong. Well,
Here's
at least
another,
a ping
here's
pong
another guy
ball.
who died.
Yeah. All right. As the death pod continues.
We have a guy who, in the Czech Republic, was found dead. 30-year-old guy, lives in his parents' house, was found on the floor of his bedroom by firefighters.
Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, he was found wearing a one-piece women's swimsuit.
Okay.
He had tightly wrapped his legs and midsection and neck with straps of plastic and fabric.
Okay. This is this is going a little Michael Hutchins kind of, but I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure where we're ended up.
He apparently had inserted a ping pong ball up the back end
Oh.
and
What are you doing?
found an electric massage device laying next to him, where he apparently was trying to like zap himself for some pleasure.
Come on, parents. Clean that up before the firefighters show up. You're at the parents' house and you got to do that?
And you go, yeah, right. Well, he lives with his parents.
Okay.
Where else are you gonna go?
Yeah, right. I get it. But it's like this poor gentleman.
This is from the UK Daily Mail, and it says, a man died with a ping pong ball in his bottom after being electrocuted while pleasuring himself. The single 30-year-old man from the Czech Republic who lived with his parents' house was found dead on the floor of the bedroom by firefighters who were forced to kick the door down. He was wearing a one-piece women's swimsuit and tightly wrapped his legs, trunk, and neck in straps of plastic and fabric.
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the parents.
Yeah.
And by the way, what is that? What is the ping pong ball? I mean, unless that's a party trick that you're trying or whatever, that you eat a high fiber diet and are going to shoot that thing out. Come on.
Tests show the one-handed device had signs of wear and had malfunctioned while plugged in.
Oh, no.
There were burns on his skin, just slightly north of his eugenics.
Yes, she'll like it too, but not in this part.
As such, the death was ruled to be an accidental electrocution to autoerotic manipulation.
Oh.
After 48 hours after his death, revealed a strange foreign body in his intestine, too.
48 hours later they found it?
It probably just popped out.
Yeah. Well, there was a knock at one coffin, and then next thing you know, like, was he an avid ping pong player?
Doctors found a, quote,
Uh-oh. Wait for it.
quote, a fancy condom in plastic translucent box onto which the label was fixed with the victim's first name marked with a black inscription. It measured around 5.5 centimeters. Another object around 9 centimeters in length was also lodged up there.
Yikes. So it was a lot more than the ping pong ball.
Doctor said it was a, quote, round plastic cylinder onto which a ping pong ball was fixed with plastic wrap.
So they MacGyvered it.
He also suffered internal organ damage, swelling of his lungs. People most commonly shove objects into their rectum for sexual pleasure.
What other kind is there, right?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Go on.
The last two paragraphs here explain why any sort of anal insertion might be pleasurable for some people. I won't go into that.
Why would you have to put that in there,
Right.
Daily Mail?
Right. It's like you just got to explain just so you understand.
Just so you understand why the ping pong ball would be there.
It wasn't completely crazy. You might have.
Yeah. Well, I think.
How many times did it work before they found him?
I think that's inferred.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone goes, well, why would he do something like that? No, I think we all know. If you walk in and there's that going on, I think we all know why they did that.
That's just irresponsible journalism.
Exactly.
Someone's going to read that and go, well, maybe.
It's not like a science experiment. Like, well, what would happen if I did this? No, I think we all know why you would do that. Ugh. All right. Well, we end this edition on a, I don't want to say lighter note, but there's no one dying.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a relationship dying in this particular story here to wrap
Sex,
up.
poo, anything going on?
Well, the possibility of the hibbity-dibbity may be in the eyes of one individual. All right. I'm going to share this story with you. Here's what went down. Involves an airplane where a gentleman is with his wife and kids. But apparently this gentleman was also getting ready to give a big speech somewhere. He's a lecturer, and he hadn't finished the presentation as of yet. So he upgraded to first class while the wife and the two children stayed in coach so that he wouldn't be bothered and he could finish what's going on.
You could spread out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this is then brought to us by Jordan Wynn, who took to TikTok to share her point of view of an awkward encounter. The 32-year-old explained how she and another passenger had been unexpectedly upgraded to first class on their 4-hour flight. The pair ended up chatting for around 20 minutes before the man's wife, who was sitting in coach with their 2 children, came to confront him.
Uh-oh.
In the clip, Jordan estimated the man was in his late 30s, early 40s, described how the male passenger had first struck up a conversation by informing her that first-class perks included unlimited free alcoholic beverages. He told Jordan that he was a professor specializing in nature conservation en route to give a speech on the topic. Jordan said, and so I'm asking a bunch of questions. She goes, I wasn't flirting, just chatting about what he does. At some point, he tells me that his wife is actually in the back with the 2 kids because he's very far behind on his project, and he was sitting in first class so he could get it finished. But then after 15 to 20 minutes go by, the wife suddenly appeared next to him with the babies and was visibly pissed. She then took the younger child and plops the baby in his lap and says, quote, if you're not going to work, then at least you can do is watch one of the babies.
She's not wrong, is she?
The man tried to defuse the situation by telling his wife she was asking how we met, sweetie. The couple proceeded then to get into a heated, awkward conversation right next to this woman who was forced to make small talk with their 5-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow.
The wife reportedly said, we've been watching you with your head turned over here for the last 20 minutes. So how dare you, sir?
I don't think the wife's wrong.
I was going to say, do you think she overreacted? No. I mean, he's just having a conversation with this individual, but it has to be taxing, right? First of all, I feel it's everyone or it's no one,
right?
When it comes to that situation, right? That's on you as far as the upgrade, right? For the husband, right? I feel like it's either everybody goes up there or nobody goes up there. You pass it off to somebody else because it's on you. The fact that the project isn't done, you knew when it was coming. You knew you had to get it done.
Fair.
You knew you were traveling, so that's not an excuse, right? I feel like it's either everybody gets upgraded or nobody gets upgraded in that. So I understand why she's upset, but
that's not why she's upset.
No.
It sounds like she was just being a genuinely nice person saying, hey, you got a lot of work to do. Go up there. It'll be quieter. You can concentrate. You can spread out a little bit.
Right. But it's then when she sees him not working and talking to this younger female.
He's got a martini in his hand.
And he's going, hey.
His laptop is closed.
And he's like, hey, one of the perks.
I'm a professor of a first.
By the way, that's a terrible opening as well. To be like, hey, one of the perks around this place is a lot of booze, unlimited booze. And is that something? Because I think he's breaking the Johnny Molson rule, first off, of limited conversation on an airplane.
It's so easy to shut that down.
Right.
I'm on planes all the time. Usually nobody says anything because look at me. I've got that face. It's like, don't.
Yeah, you have your resting, leave me alone face.
But when somebody does say something, I just say, yep, that's right.
She falls into the TikToker, then goes, oh, this is interesting. And so she starts to converse. Now, at some point, there should be, I think 20-minute conversation is a little too long. At some point, you should see there's a logical endpoint. You are on a plane, so the conversation should stop when you get up in the air or something or whatever, and he needs to go, hey, I need to get this work done. So I don't feel like the wife overreacted per se. Thoughts?
No, I don't think so. That's I mean, she's obviously he's engaged in a conversation, and it wasn't just a hey, how you doing? Okay, this is where I'm from. This is where you're from. I'm going to work. Okay, and then press on with whatever you're doing. That would be 90 seconds tops.
Let me ask you: if kids weren't involved, if he didn't, because traveling with children, I don't have kids, but I've seen people, and if it's 5 and 3, that's just fraught with landmines, right?
It's not easy.
And so all of a sudden now the wife is left alone to battle she's outnumbered now by the children. Had there been no children involved, and it was just the husband and wife,
you don't leave her.
I was going to say, would she still have been as upset? You answered the question right there. That's still upsetting to go up to first guy.
Well, yeah, you don't leave her because, there theoretically wouldn't be the distractions. But if you do, and you still have the conversation with the chickadee, the wife's upset.
Yeah.
The wife's absolutely upset.
So
she's 100% right.
Yeah. Lessons be learned here. Yeah. Just don't engage in conversation. unless your wife is there next to you or the other family's there, then you can at least engage, but don't go on for 20 minutes.
You walk right to the ticket agent, you get on a different plane, you go someplace awesome, and leave Goofball back there to fend for himself.
Yeah, you leave the kids with him and then and go someplace
else.
else.
Monaco or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Really.
We're going to go where the ping pong balls are. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you tuning in to the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. We promise less death on the next episode.
Yeah, sorry, this was pretty morbid.
Yeah, but you know what isn't morbid? Great Father's Day present? Nugenics.
Oh, sure. Every father should have a big jar of Nugenics under his
exactly.
Father's Day tree.
Yeah, that's right. So you give that to you give that to Dad, and you know what Dad will give to Mom this Father's Day weekend? Because she'll like it too.
Oh.
Gross.